Hey, everybody. I'm Stephan Said, and I'm with you all in remembering Hal Willner, and in particular his life with poetry. I don't think you could really describe Hal Willner without just knowing his love for poetry in all things. I first met Hal through poetry, and my almost 30-year relationship with him, I would say, all revolved around the poetic tradition in art, whether it was filmmaking, comedy, or music, theater, you name it. Hal was after the poetic tradition of being a voice, a tribune for the people, for the times, for using art form, whatever it could be, to push the boundaries of human understanding and to bring to society ideas and thoughts and expression that would help lead us to the next place. And it didn't make any difference what art form it would be. It could be raucous, it could be hilarious, it could be profound and deeply moving. At the best, it would be all of those at the same time. And that's what Hal was really about. It didn't make any difference if it was Tom Waits, Elvis Costello, or, people might have wondered why, he was working with a young guy like me. And as much music as I made with him over so many years, I'd have to say that it was all about the kind of unfailing and flailing and resolve to make sure that our art form wasn't going to sell out its message and its meaning, whatever it was that it had, that we were trying to express. I first met Hal at the Naropa Institute when I was in my 20s. And I'd gone out there to visit Stephen Taylor and everybody and Alan. And Hal saw me perform with Amiri Baraka, improvising on the tune of So What, while Amiri read this poem he had just written on the death of Miles Davis. It was a memorial tribute kind of poem to Miles, and it was very powerful, and Amiri had asked me to play along with him, and it was a pretty powerful kind of out-of-body experience, performance. It was one of those moments, and Hal was there, and that was the start of our friendship. I think later that same day or the next day, I saw him again at Alan's flat with Stephen and probably Peter Hale, and I think with Raymond Foy. We all then went to see, I think David Crosby was there too, and so we all went to see Crosby, Stills and Nash at Red Rocks. But that was just my first encounter with him. But Hal urged me to come to New York. He, with Alan, were central in urging me to come, and in immediately bringing me into St. Mark's, the Poetry Project, sort of making that my home base. The Poetry Project was my home base, and I think in a lot of ways it was very much so for Hal, a serious force, because that is where it was a nexus of musicians and poets, artists, dancers, all who, as I was saying, were using their art in that way. And within my first year of making it to New York, as a precocious youngster, Hal had included me in the Wichita Vortex Sutra recordings. That was like everybody was on that. Philip Glass, members of Sonic Youth, SNL horn section. I think John Zorn and it started off with me and Art Barron playing. I was playing violin, and Art was playing trombone and also conch shell. Huge memory for me, also just because that was also entering into the Hal production kind of mode, which was completely hands-off and much more of a wizardy sort of alchemical approach, where he'd already brought it all together with the voices he wanted to be a part of it, and knew that they could create it. And it was a long days of rehearsals, and day of rehearsals there in St. Mark's, and then one time and bang, that was it. And that was just the beginning of lots of projects. But I feel that if Hal is out there anywhere, he's smiling down on the Poetry Project, and he's smiling down on that part of all of us that is intrepid and will always make that great art that we believe in our hearts needs to be said, needs to be heard for humanity in our times. This is a love song, but it speaks just as much to Hal as to everybody that we love or that we've lost in our commitment to live up to the things that we loved in them and that we hold dear. The blackest crow that ever flew would surely turn to ice if I would have proposed to you. Right there would turn to night. Right there would turn to night, my love. The air would go if I would have proposed to you. The seas would rage and burn. We love you, Hal.